Welcome to Tracks to Success, brought to you by Presentation Partners. This is the podcast that brings you inspiring people and their inspiring stories. How did they find their way to the top, and how can their path help you do the same? Here's your host, network broadcaster, executive, and entrepreneur, Kraig Kann.
Right now on Tracks to Success, you'll meet a coach who's gone north on the career ladder in very short order and found her way to South Bend to make her biggest impact. She grew up in hoops with 4 older brothers, pushed from the get-go. Doors open, she shot right through them. A point guard playing at Notre Dame that led to a dream national championship season, then professional ball, and then back to her alma mater to start a coaching career under the legend who coached her. 17 years grinding to make a difference as an assistant. Something special happened. The NBA Memphis Grizzlies saw that something special, and she proved to be every bit of it. 1 year making the best in basketball think of her as a coach, not a woman coach. She made a huge difference, and in the blink of an eye, her alma mater brought her back to succeed the legend that gave her a first college shot. While she says basketball is basketball, she is and will always be a trailblazer of sorts. She thrives on preparation and presentation, a master motivator, and a teacher who's all about making people better. Bring up the idea of role model, and her eyes light up. She wants to inspire. She wants to connect. She wants to empower. Her name is Niele Ivey, Coach Niele Ivey, the boss of Notre Dame women's basketball. Her inspiring story and this edition of Tracks to Success starts now. Niele, thank you so much for a few minutes of your time in a busy schedule, I'm sure. You know, I've had a football coach on. I've never had a basketball coach yet. And I got some advisors, and they say, you have to get Coach Ivey on Tracks to Success. So I'm thrilled to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk.
Well, let's get to it. First off, you are a coach that really is following a legend. And I don't think everybody really truly understands what that means to do that. You have a history with your own alma mater that is truly special. Before we get into your whole career, I want to talk about Notre Dame for a second, because I've been there, but many other people probably never have. You have called it, quote, your heart, end quote. Share the magic of Notre Dame. What does it mean?
Yeah, it means everything to me. It has, honestly, it's really changed my life from the moment I was recruited by Muffin McGraw and stepping on campus. I guess you can say as a recruit, I had 5 official visits scheduled that weekend and Notre Dame was my first official visit weekend that I actually, stepped on campus for recruiting, and I canceled after 48 hours on a Sunday afternoon. Yeah, I committed to the coaching staff and to Muffin McGraw and canceled every one of my other visits. And it was because of the uniqueness that Notre Dame exudes. It's just so special. It felt like home that weekend for me. It was a USA football weekend I'll never forget. And I remember stepping on the campus, and it was special. It had a magic to it. And a lot of times, a lot of coaches, they talk about when you have that feeling, you'll know. And that's how I felt that weekend. So Notre Dame is just a special place. It's a place that I've been almost half of my life. And it's impacted my life in so many amazing ways. We talk about as recruiters and coaches and people that are not a 4-year decision, it's a 40-year decision. And that's really true. I'm 42 years old and I'm still here. Or I came back. It's a place that has a lasting effect on me, such a positive experience. And it's just a family, and it's just home for me.
Yeah, it's a special place. There's no question. You're one of the most decorated and successful point guards ever to play at Notre Dame. 9 times the Irish women's program has reached the Final Four. Now, the cool thing about that is that you've been a part of each and every one of them. Obviously, you didn't go on the 9-year plan as a student athlete, but two as a player, national title in 2001. That was a first for the Irish women's program, and 7 as an assistant coach. So I'm officially tabbing you as the Irish good luck charm for that program. I mean, how does that make you feel when you talk about all of those trips to the Final Four?
Overwhelmed. I think I feel super blessed. I've been around Coach McGraw, and it's a credit to her, but also I just feel like being here, and just having the experience and the opportunity and being around great talent and being around great coaches. I've been really fortunate and blessed. And so it's amazing to when just read that I've been a part of every Final Four, because going through it, I've never thought of it in that regards. You're always grinding, you're always just trying to get better every year, and and challenging yourself and trying to get to the top every year. And so to be able to say that I've been a part of all 9 is really special, and just a super blessed feeling.
Yeah. Let's talk about your career path. Let's go backwards in time, and way before you ever ended up on a sideline of a coaching staff or as a head coach, all the way back to childhood in St. Louis, Missouri. How soon did you have a basketball in your hands? Were you like the kid at age 2 that mom and dad gave you the ball, or what happened?
Well, I was a tomboy growing up. I had 4 older brothers, and I played every sport I could be a part of. I was always super athletic and a lot of energy, and my mom always just tried to put me on the things that I was passionate about. And basketball came about just watching my brothers. I was tagging along when they would go to the park and play, and their grade school games, their high school games. I just looked up to them, and they really introduced me to the game, and I just fell in love with it, and I just felt like it was the sport that I had more passion about, and I felt like I was better in that sport. So I think I kind of geared, my direction went towards basketball a little bit more than volleyball and everything else that I played. But I definitely was inspired by watching my brothers.
Yeah. Were you the annoying little sister, like, that had to tag along and all that stuff, or were you the one that was welcomed into the group of guys, and that's why you got to be good? Because I heard, by the time you were in 4th grade, you were lighting it up from 3-point range, so you must have learned something.
Yeah, they I was being the baby girl. I definitely was annoying, always trying to get into the games, and they were always like, no, you sit on the side and watch. And so I would get mad because I always felt like I can play. And so that's why I think I probably got, my competitive drive, because I always wanted to get out and play with them. And so then any opportunity, I was trying to jump in. But I definitely was just, on the sidelines when they were in halftime, like their halftime games in high school, I would get out on the court and just try to play. I like playing in front of the crowd, and try to have one-on-one games with whoever was in the stands. So at any point I was, begging to get on the floor with them, or just even when they stepped off.
When we're young, we have influencers. It might be our parents. My dad was a big influence on me, told me to chart my own course. Don't do what he did, pardon me, do what, moved me. My grandfather was the same way. And you have those influencers along the way. As a young child, who was it for you? Was it a parent? Was it somebody else?
My mother. She was a huge influencer. She was really strong, raising five children, and working. I mean, I just always felt like she was working beyond 9 to 5, trying to support us and sacrificing her life to make sure that we received an incredible education in St. Louis. She had us attend some of the best private institutions in St. Louis. And so I always felt my drive was from her. She always showed me how strong she was, and I knew the sacrifice that she was making for us at the time, and I knew how important education was to her. And it's who I am. It's the reason why I am who I am today, as far as education being important. I've the morals and values that she taught me as a young girl. I've carried those values, and I've tried to raise my son in the same way that she raised me. So she's definitely the most influential person in my life.
Niele, you recruit, and recruiting starts so much earlier now than it did way back then. I want to talk about that for a quick second. I mean, you were really good in high school. You led your team to the state championship, undefeated, as I recall in looking at that. First state title in the school's history. and you were recruited, and you talked about this a little bit already, but Coach McGraw was like all over you. At the YMCA, checking you out and all that sort of stuff. How did that happen? How did she make that influence on you to make you make that decision to go to Notre Dame?
Yeah, I just felt like talking to her, and I was really comfortable with her staff. And of all the coaches, I felt like Notre Dame, they did a really good job of, going through the recruiting process and being there and showing up for events. And like you said, at the YMCA, and I was at small tournaments in St. Louis, small tournaments in places in Missouri. And I always felt they were visible. So it made me realize, how interested they were, and they did a, phenomenal job of making that known to me. And then when I came on campus, and the recruiting was different, so we didn't have social media. I was not on the phone. I was mostly outside in the playing, or in the gym, and so they could barely get me on the phone. But when I came on campus and actually made the connection, I think that's what really sold me, because I felt like this was a family, was a home away from home.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt very comfortable and safe with Coach McGraw. And, she reminded me a lot of my mom. And so that was something that resonated with me. And so that was the reason why I chose, outside of all the, being, Notre Dame being the best of both worlds. I was looking for a place that had great academics, and a place where I could make an immediate impact. And I felt like I wanted to make sure that the choice of being away from home, 6 hours away from home, the first time I'd ever been away from home, I wanted to be in a comfortable, safe space. And I felt that way with them.
Think about this for a second. Great leaders, I believe, have this like magnetic pull, right? People are drawn to them, and then they draw out the best in others. I feel like Coach McGraw probably did that for you, made you feel something. But you're a leader. Have you always been, in your mind, and sometimes it's tough to talk about yourself in this way, but do you feel you've been, as part of your success, somebody who has been able to do that for other people, that they've been drawn to you? In other words, Coach McGraw saw something in you. She was pulled to you, etc.
Yeah, I do feel that way. And I feel that way because of my ability to have relationships. Relationships are really important to me. So I've always felt that, as a point guard with my teammates, as a recruiter, as assistant coach, that I always wanted to develop strong relationships to be a great teammate, to be a great assistant coach, to be a great coach. I've always felt that need. And I always felt like the connection that I made with people always, to me, was important. It was important. I just wanted to always emphasize the importance of having trust, having loyalty, and having the people that are around me to know that I have their back and I'm loyal. And so I'm assuming that that's the reason why, people are drawn to me, because I care about people. I'm a people person. I've always been that way. Relationships really matter to me. So, and in this profession, that's what you need. And I think that's how players succeed. That's how I've succeeded, having great, strong relationships with my coaches and my teammates. And so I think that's just who I am. Mm-hmm. And so it's authentic, and it's helped me being a coach.
I'm going to revisit that later. So okay. I want to dig deeper on that with you, because so many people talk about that with you. Tell me about the national title. Senior year, Notre Dame never had won a national title. By the way, you were the number one player in the country under 5'8", as I understand it, which is a pretty cool thing. But 2001, I mean, are you kidding me? Niele, the Final Four was in St. Louis. I mean, that's your hometown. How amazing was that experience?
It was so incredible. My story, I had 2 ACLs, and so it was my 5th year. I had a redshirt year. I went through a lot of adversity, a lot of injuries, and moments of despair, and not feeling that I was gonna achieve what I wanted to achieve during the time at Notre Dame. That was my goal. That year, when I realized the championship was back in my hometown, my focus was laser sharp, and to be able to go back home in front of 10 minutes away from my home, and my high school coaches, my high school principal, my family, everyone in the stands, and my brothers, my cousins, everybody was there. And so that was just, there's no other way to explain. It was just magical, because you always want to win. You always win the national championship, be the first one to win the national championship, but to win your last game in front of your family was, I mean, it was unreal.
Did you cry like crazy?
I didn't cry on the court. I was just more overwhelmed with emotion, like, excitement and happiness. But I think later, back in my hotel room, I think I probably cried then. But at the time, I had so much adrenaline that I was just super excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. So after graduating Notre Dame, you're a professional, WNBA. Now the NBA, which you've been a part of, and I'll get to that, but the NBA is a dream for so many kids, so many boys. Is the WNBA as special to be a part of as that dream would suggest? In other words, is it as big a deal to go play there? Was it for you?
Absolutely. I wanted to continue playing professionally. And at the time, I think the WNBA had been in existence maybe 1 or 2 years, going into high school. So that was a dream of mine in college. I wanted to either play overseas or play in the WNBA. And so I think it's absolutely the same drive, the same dream for young girls, young women, coming out of college, to be able to play professionally in your hometown, or sorry, not in your country. Because a lot of people, they didn't have that opportunity before us, and they went overseas to play and had to be away from their family and in different countries. And so having that opportunity to be in the United States, that was something that was a dream of mine.
Was it tough to hang on? I mean, you played in Indiana, Detroit, Phoenix. How would you describe your career?
Well, I think my career took a different path because I was pregnant with my son my rookie season. And so I think that was something that I had to, come back from having him. And then you have the responsibilities of being a parent. And so I feel like my direction of what I wanted to do in the WNBA definitely took a turn, it was a different path for me, but I was still, very happy to be in the league. I was, trying to get back and, trying to get back to myself, because it's definitely, when you have a child, like, everything changes. And so just trying to find the balance of, being a parent and also being a professional was very challenging, but, my son became my motivation. So it was something that was just in the cards for me. And I was happy to have him and happy to be on that journey with him.
Yeah. Kid can play, from what I understand.
He's pretty good.
Why be a coach? Where was the pull for that? Was it because of the impact of Coach McGraw? Why did that happen for you?
Yeah, well, I had another knee injury, and I think it was my fourth or fifth year in the WNBA. So I couldn't go overseas, and I had advice from one of my former coaches, Kevin McGuff. He was a head coach at Xavier at the time. He was just like, while you're rehabbing, you should come here. I can create a position for you, and be an administrative assistant and work on your game and get back in shape and help us with the program. And I was like, okay, great. And so when I went there, that's when I felt like, okay, coaching could be something that I could aspire to be when I'm done playing. Because at the time, it's hard for athletes to try to figure out the transition from playing, because you've played sports your entire life, and having that transition is something sometimes very difficult for athletes. And so I felt like, okay, this might be a great path for me to stay around the game, because I definitely wanted to stay around the game in some form, in some way, and that was a clear path for me. And I just fell in love being around his staff and being around the team and developing relationships with the players. I was not a full-time assistant, so I was not allowed to do a lot of the things, NCAA wise that the coaches were doing, but I was watching and I was observing. And then, luckily Coach McGraw gave me a call to give me my first coaching opportunity to be back in my alma mater. So I felt like being around the Xavier program and being administrative assistant then really guided me into knowing, okay, this is something I could see myself doing in the next 10 years.
Good
and now it's a little bit longer.
Good opportunity for me to segue a little bit, just to talk about something here, because you talked about, not everybody makes it. Not everybody can play professionally. And a lot of people, no matter what they do, if they're an athlete, they struggle with the next or the
Yes.
what happens when it's all gone away. How much time do you spend with your student athletes mentoring them, coaching them on that aspect, that there is life beyond basketball, not basketball beyond basketball for everybody?
Well, I think that's the most important part of coaching. It's not just the X's and O's. Like when they're here, the 4 years that they're here, 4 or 5 years that they're here, they have to understand that there is life after basketball. There's opportunities, and we try to make sure that they utilize their resources while they're on campus. We have a career center here at Notre Dame. There are so many resources here throughout the year and throughout their time that that they can network and they can make those connections and find out what they're passionate about outside of basketball. Obviously, basketball the ball's gonna stop, and we talk about that a lot in the recruiting part and also while they're on campus. And I think that's what Notre Dame is so great with, if having that stands for, is having having opportunities and utilizing resources, and the Notre Dame Alumni Network that is there for students, and it's for sure for student athletes. And so that's part of the lesson, that's part of the education, to make sure that they are completely well-rounded and that they're not just athletes. They're in the community, they're on campus, they're making connections everywhere. And that's something that we try to do as coaches. That, to me, that's the biggest part of the education, is to make sure that they're prepared for life. It's not, of course, we want to win games and you have goals to set to win national championships, but it's more important to make sure that they're prepared for life and being young women in the society and being positive and making an impact, making a difference. And so that's something that is part of the education. And I'm grateful to have had that experience. And so I understand what that means and what it's meant to me in my life and career outside of basketball.
Really good recruiting pitch, Coach. Well done. Nice job. All right, I want you to be real with me here. 17 years as an assistant at Notre Dame. Now, either you are the most patient person, the most loyal person, or you hide frustration really well. 17 years as an assistant, nobody came to you and said, "Hey, Coach Ivey, here you go. I'm tossing you the ball. You're running our program." What the heck?
Definitely patience. I feel like my decisions are calculated. I think that it's not just myself, it's making sure it's the best fit for my son and our lives together. And so some of my decisions, I've had opportunities, I've had interviews, I've met great athletic directors and have learned about great institutions, but you just have to make sure it's the right timing. And I think I believe it's all in God's timing for me. I know that this is God's plan, to be honest. I guess I could have said that from the beginning of this interview. The things that have happened to me, the challenges, the adversity that I've been through, has all been a part of the plan, and I always felt like the plan, my plan, to me, is kind of going by living it by faith. And, my faith, brought me to the Memphis Grizzlies last year, and it's also brought me back here. So that's how I live my life.
Hey, everybody. I really want to tell you about Ahead, one of our new partners this season and now the official headwear provider of Tracks to Success. Creativity, a sharp look, dozens of styles to choose from. Ahead's been supplying the most prestigious events and outfitting the world's top golfers for 25 years, and it's perfect for you as well. So if you're looking to dress for success, make sure you think ahead. Here's your chance to save big. Visit aheadusashop.com now and use the code TTSPOD. That's TTSPOD, and receive 20% off your purchase. Ahead, the finest in headwear, the official headwear of the Tracks to Success podcast, and available at aheadusashop.com. Okay, this is really cool. Tell me how you ended up in the NBA with the Memphis Grizzlies 2019-2020 season. To me, there's two stories here. A, women's coach makes splash in the NBA. 9th woman to land a coaching job, by the way, for everybody out there. Or B, great young coach simply gets opportunity in the NBA. I think you know where I'm going here with this. Which way do you look at it and the opportunity that you had?
I guess both sound good. I think I was given, young coach was given an amazing opportunity and made a great connection with an incredible organization. And I always talk about opportunity. is you talk about my career path. I had never had experience being a full-time assistant, and Coach McGraw gave me that opportunity to come back to Notre Dame with no prior experience on the court recruiting X's and O's. And so sometimes a lot of successful people, you just need the opportunity. You don't, and a lot of times people don't have that chance. And so I've been fortunate to have amazing opportunities. And so the fact that the Grizzlies organization reached out, and the fact that they gave me that opportunity and trusted that even with no experience of coaching men ever, that, that, and it ended up being, it was life-changing for me. And so just having the opportunity it's how you become successful. It's how you gain experience, and become leaders. And so I'm just grateful for the opportunities, incredible opportunities that I've been given, in the NBA and also back here in Notre Dame.
You've been chosen. I mean, I'm going to kind of call you the chosen one. I mean, this is an amazing chance to go coach in the NBA at the highest level with the biggest superstars in the sport. Ja Morant, among the others, that said really cool things about you and your time there. What's your it factor? Why do you think they picked you?
I don't know. I'm not sure what my it factor is. I try to lead with my heart. And so I'm assuming that's what it is, because I'm very passionate. I care. I work hard. And, I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to challenge myself to be better. And so, I feel like I treat people well, and I'm a good person. And sometimes good things happen to good people. And I would say that about other people, but like you said, I'm blessed. That's all I can say. I'm just very fortunate. I'm very fortunate. And I try to never take that for granted. And, surrounding myself with great people, great mentors, great leaders. I've tried to really develop a great networking system, and it's really helped me, just having so many amazing mentors that have helped me along the way. There've been times where, I've, being green or young and inexperienced, and then just having great people around me that have helped me and guide me along the way, giving me great advice. But I definitely think that I have had, a blessed path. And again, it's a reflection of the people that I surround myself with.
Yeah. You remember all those charter flights in the WNBA, right? I mean, the NBA is just a little bit of a different thing there.
Yeah, the NBA is a completely different experience. I definitely saw it from a different perspective, which was really unique.
So when you're yelling at these guys that are 6'10" and have been in the league for a long time to move their feet or block out or whatever, were you nervous to do that? I mean, here's this woman coach, right? Never been a head coach at any level, coming in there, rolling into the NBA. Were you nervous about that? Did they really warm up to you quickly?
I'm going to be very honest. I was very nervous. I always felt like, and I got some great advice from some friends, like you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations in order for you to grow. And so I put myself in a very uncomfortable situation, even choosing to go to the NBA, just because it was unfamiliar for me. I knew everything at Notre Dame. I knew everything on the women's side. And so I really challenged myself by accepting that role. But I was surrounded by great men, the coaching staff, the head coach, Taylor Jenkins, the players. They were extremely coachable. That was a unique situation because Taylor Jenkins, that was his first year becoming a head coach. So he was a great, passionate, well-respected assistant coach with the Milwaukee Bucks. And so that was his first head coaching job. And I really resonated with him just by his passion, his work ethic, and the time that I talked to him, throughout the interviewing process. And the team was very young. So they have Jaren Jackson, who's a second year player in the NBA. And then, like you said, Ja Morant, who was their rookie all-star. And so they were young, they were coachable. We didn't have to deal with any egos. And, the moment I stepped in that court, they respected me. They listened. I could be myself, but I took some time to kind of listen, observe, and understand everything that was going on. So, and they were very patient with me, and I just felt like I just grew over time, and that had a lot to do with gaining comfort and being more comfortable, because it was uncomfortable at first, but over time, putting in the work, preparation, asking a lot of questions, and learning player development, learning the system, everything. Over time, once you become more prepared, you become more confident. And that's how I felt like I grew over the year.
Season 2 of Tracks to Success is brought to you by Presentation Partners. Presentation Partners is a unique team of award-winning executives helping you build a presentation others will be talking about. Presentation Partners teaches you the true art of storytelling. And if you haven't heard about their neuroscience of persuasion, you'll see how valuable it is to own it. Whether you're a company or an entrepreneur, Presentation Partners is the team you need behind you. For almost 15 years, they've helped clients raise millions in capital and countless dollars in sales simply by making top leaders successful presenters. The time is now to find your authentic voice and learn your authentic story. Presentation Partners, creating persuasive story presentations based on something other than just your good looks. So just an amazing experience with the NBA guys, a lot of fun stuff. And then you get this call, and I'm sure you were a bit like, oh boy, and maybe you knew it was coming. Coach McGraw decides she's going to step down. And then Notre Dame took 5 seconds, maybe 5 minutes, and they say, we know who we want. It's Coach Ivey to come back. When you got that call, is that how it went down? Did you scream, cry? How excited were you to even be offered the successor role?
Yeah, I was shocked just because you never know when that call will happen. I know that we kind of talked about during some of Coach McGraw's interviews and Jack Schwarberg's interviews that they identify that it was me, but I just didn't know when, So it was during the pandemic, and it was at the beginning of April or end of March, and everything, all the uncertainty. It's everything. Everything is unknown at that moment. Everybody's trying to figure out each day, with all the new information going on. So, Jack gave me a call and just said, Coach McGraw has decided to step away, and she's felt like this was the time that she wanted to retire. And I was just like, why? I was just overwhelmed, initially. I did become a little bit torn after the phone call because of my experience in the NBA. It was really hard to walk away from that experience and only have been there for 1 year. So that just kind of tells you how impactful my experience was in Memphis. But I just also knew that, I kind of weighed the pros and the cons, and it always went back to always went back to my heart, which, Notre Dame trumps pretty much everything. So it was really overwhelming at first. And so, I had to take it all in. It took a while to really take it in, to really understand the magnitude of that offer.
What was the press conference like? My guess is that it was a Zoom call, right? Because nobody's had this big gathering of people, right? So it maybe
Yes.
Underwhelming. How was that for you?
Yeah, it was definitely different from. I try to watch a lot of different press conferences just to get experience, just to see how other coaches handle their press conferences. And it was in a studio. I had my son with me, so that was really special for me. And we were social distance with the moderator, and then Jack Schwarberg, our athletic director, and just in front of a big camera. So it was definitely definitely memorable just because of the situation and how the setup of the Zoom, like you said, the Zoom call. But it was special just because my son was right there with me, and I felt like I was emotional talking about the experience, talking about the moment, talking about the opportunity and Coach McGraw, and also to have him there was really special for me. So I got emotional.
Nearly 60% of head coaches and 50% of assistants in Division I women's sports are men. Now, you were following an incredible female leader.
Yes.
Your hiring was significant. Is it that not enough women believe they can ascend to that level based on those statistics, or that they're simply being denied opportunities to be at that level? How do you view that?
Yeah, I think it's just the opportunity, like you said, and I'm not sure if it's denied opportunity. I know that a lot of people feel that athletic directors hire people that look like them. I've heard that on many articles, many conversations and discussions about the percentage of women coaching and leading and being head coaches, and also African American women. And so I just think it's opportunity right now. Being the first, I'm just praying that it opens more doors for more diversity in all aspects of campus here at Notre Dame, in athletics, leadership positions, leadership roles, the academic or experiences or academic positions on campus. I'm just praying that it brings awareness to, it's 2020. I'm the first female head coach in any sport. And we've only had 3 African-American head coaches, with one being in football and track. And so I think that just brings a lot of awareness to the times, and it needs to change. We need to have more diversity in all different aspects and all different roles on campus here. And it just brings awareness to it in women's college basketball.
Are you glad it's a topic, or do you kind of go, oh gosh, here comes the question again?
No, I mean, it's like everything. It's the dialogue. It's having the conversation. It's being educated with the percentages, and knowing, some people may not even understand it, may not even know, the difference or the disparity of percentages of African-American women in power roles and head coaching roles, with the percentage of African-American players on these teams. And so I it doesn't make me uncomfortable at all, and I'm just honored, and I'm honored to be in this role. It has become bigger than me, and I think that's important. I never would have thought that this would be what I was chosen to be in, and to be a person talking about it. And but I feel like the Lord put me in this position because he knew that I was ready and I can handle it all. And I'm just hoping that, again, my opportunity, my presence, and I'm going to try to do the best job I can to hopefully give more opportunities for more women and more African-American women.
Yeah, you have a chance to coach a lot of people and not just your team. You've been
Right.
labeled great at the following: connecting with people, recruiting. By the way, top 12 classes in 9 of the final 10 years as an assistant at Notre Dame. That's impressive. Scouting, you've been labeled pretty darn good. Strategy, in-game strategy, really good. What is your favorite thing about coaching? Is it the kids as people, or the challenge of making kids better athletes on the court?
I love relationships, and I love when you see, recruiting a player that's 17 years old, 16, 17 years old, come to the program and then leave better than what they came, and leave their own mark and their own legacy. I've always felt that way. I've always felt like there's so many people that I can credit with my success and credit with my player development, and how I've become the person that I am, and that helped me when I was in college. And I've always felt like that's the way that I give back. And I'm just fortunate to be able to say that I've been giving back for years at the alma mater and the university that's given me so much. And so that's why I do what I do. I think sometimes you just have to realize what your purpose is, what you're passionate about. And I recognize that my purpose is to mentor, and I would say, my mission is to love, to serve, to mentor. And so I've recognized that's been my purpose this whole time. And it's really refreshing for me to know that now. And I've identified that for myself in the past couple of years. And so developing relationships is the most important part of the coaching for me, and to see them exceed, to be the best versions of themselves. That's my job. And when it happens, and that just makes me more happy than anything. Obviously the wins, not the losses. Obviously the wins and championships and Final Fours, they all mean something, and it's really exciting, and I love that part of it. But I also love being there for these student athletes, and watching them become what they want, establishing what they want, and living out their dreams and their goals, and watching them thrive here in Notre Dame, and also professionally.
I coach leadership communication for executives. I do workshops. I travel and speak on that topic. It's a blast for me, and I really enjoy it. Let's talk about leaders and communication. It's so big today because not every leader is great at delivering a message and engaging an audience and connecting with them and thinking about the outcome of the things that they say. You've been talked about in things that I've read as being very good at it. You do web conferences that have a theme to each of them with your players. I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit. And when you go into a locker room, how do you engage them and keep their attention in a world where there is so much distraction?
Yes, well, I've tried to, and with our Zooms and video conference meetings, I've tried to, like you're saying, like having them have a focus of what we're talking about for that week. I try to create different themes for them. The first, couple weeks, I introduced meditation. Actually, for the first week, I really believe in self-care and meditation, and it's really helped my growth as spiritually, and my growth as a person. And I felt like it's really been helpful, just focusing and trying to have balance of having a high stress, high pressure environment in coaching, and also being a parent. And it's really helped calm and really helped me in my life. And so I wanted to bring that to the team. And so I had a speaker that talked about and mental health. It was May, so it was mental health awareness month. And so I just thought that it was really important to bring a different side to the team. And then, brought some All-Americans, talked about the tradition of Notre Dame and just professional life. And so every week or every call, I've tried to bring the different themes to try to educate and inspire our young women. And just connecting and knowing how to engage and messaging, I think has changed and it's evolved for me with the different generations. I knew it's really trying to get to know the student athlete, what motivates them, what is going to help them understand, to help them learn. Sometimes it's talking to them a certain way. Sometimes it's meeting them, film on the court. You have to find out from each player what that person needs. And so that's what I always try to identify. When I was an assistant, having a smaller group, because we used to divide our groups up into positions. So now being a head coach and having the entire team, I'm going to have to try to establish how my messaging will be and how I can connect with every player. So that's something that I have to spend the time on, and that you figure that out by spending time with the players. And so I'm going to definitely do that as a head coach, and then lean on my staff to help me make sure that connection is there on more individual base, because there are so many things you have to take care of as a head coach. You don't have as much time as an assistant, and I understand that. So I have to find that balance, and I plan on doing that as I step into this role.
In addition to hosting this podcast, Kraig leads the Kann Advisory Group, focused on elevating communication for companies and individuals. Company consulting, empowering team and individual workshops, mind-altering webinars, and Kraig's inspiring keynotes for your conference or company meeting. They're all on the menu of services. Kann Advisory helps companies clarify their message, helps professionals build and showcase their brand, and helps everyone present their best selves. So if you're the leader of a team or company looking to give your employees a game-changing one-day experience, or an individual who wants to become a speaker and presenter that gets other people talking, visit cannadvisory.com. And when you do connect, make sure to mention the Tracks to Success podcast to receive a special discount on any of the Kann Advisory services. That's cannadvisory.com. Now back to the interview.
Talking with head coach Niele Ivey from Notre Dame women's basketball. I want to get back to the word that you just brought up before, which is meditation. Now, a few years ago, I guess feeling a lot of stress as a single mom, coaching, the day-to-day things that you had hanging on you, you scheduled a retreat with friends to California, I believe, for a meditation retreat type thing. What was your level of stress? What caused you to do it? And what did you learn about yourself maybe in that time?
Yeah, it was a time where I've always been told, I've had advice of like, hey, you should think about meditation. And so it's hard really with having so much going on, with recruiting, with coaching, with the team, with my son. It's hard to kind of just find time for myself, find time, even 5 minutes, to not have so many thoughts. It's just, your mind is always racing. You're always on the go. As coaches, you always have to be prepared to be on the move, on the go, recruiting, traveling. And so I just felt like at the end of the year, I'm going to take my friend up on her advice. And, I was introduced to a Vedic meditation teacher. His name is Light Watkins. And, we got together, we did a retreat for a 2 or 3 day retreat. And he basically 101 with meditation, and just spending that time learning a different way to meditate, taking time for myself, that was really important. And I didn't realize at the time how life changing that was going to be, but it really was, because it allowed me to create a routine for myself and allow me to really try to slow down. And, with meditation, you're just trying to take time to, to focus, take time just to relax. And it allowed me to, with this high stress situation, high stress profession, to just take time just to be calm. And I felt like it was really beneficial. You hear, LeBron talk, you've heard different athletes, mention it. And it was something that I just felt like was very beneficial in my spiritual growth and just growth as a person. It allowed me just to not take things too high or too low, and to maintain my focus, to be level headed with high stress situations, not to overreact, those type of things where it's very beneficial as coaches when you're in those type of stressful environments. And I felt like it was something that really helped me.
I can only imagine that it would. What I wonder is, I hear that from you, is if we're watching a basketball game on TV and you're on the sideline, I know people think of, Coach K or somebody at the highest level of men's hoops, Bill Self, whatever. They understand that they're kind of like a CEO and there's a lot of stress to it. Do we have any real understanding as a casual viewer of college basketball just how stressful your job is?
I don't think so. I think, as fans, you just want to see results. And it's almost like you don't really see, unless you're part of that organization, part of that program team, all the hard work and stress that goes into that moment. It goes into that game, the preparation. I remember, the first month that in my first year as assistant here at Notre Dame, I called all my coaches and I just said, thank you, because I did not realize how hard it is, and how it's not a 20, this is not a, this is not a 24 or, 8 months out of the year, 9 to 5 job. This is 365 days. You have to be on call all the time for your recruits, for your players, for your head coach, for your coworkers. Like, it's not something that I don't think people understand, how it's very time consuming, but it's very rewarding. And if you're not in it for the right reasons, you might get overwhelmed, and it might, you might not be able to survive. But if you're in this profession for the right reasons, and I feel like I am, it doesn't feel like a job for me, but it's definitely a lot goes into it. So I think, to go back to your point, where in the games, a lot of people, you hear a lot of, criticism and things like that, but you don't realize how much it takes to go into preparation to be ready for a game, or to be in those moments with those players, and to get those players where they are. And it's just a lot. And so that, I don't know if people really understand. You don't really understand until you're in it.
Yeah. A couple of things before we go. This podcast is called Tracks to Success. It's about inspiring people and their inspiring stories. You're inspiring in many ways. I want to get back to the first African-American head coach concept, because in an article that I read, you were quoted as saying, "I am the visual rep of what is possible." Can you kind of help me and help our listeners understand the significance that you truly believe exists with an opportunity like that for you or anybody else who might be in that situation?
Absolutely. I definitely feel that way. I felt that way in Memphis Grizzlies. That was the first time that I've been in a role where I knew that my presence was inspiring to others. And I was at a game, and I realized that. You realize it being always, when you're saying you're the first female African-American, the ninth in the NBA. And I knew that was impactful. A lot of people supported me, and just, I got a lot of messages from a lot of women that just said, "I'm so inspired, by your story, by your journey." And I remember being in a game, and I was sitting in the game, and a little girl came up to me, and her mom, and tapped me on my shoulder during the game and was like, "Thank you. You rock, women rock," and I just kind of turned around and looked at them, and the little girl had the biggest smile on her face. And that's what made me realize this is bigger than me. Like, my presence is inspiring women everywhere. It's inspiring African-American women. I'm sure it's inspiring single parents, single mothers, to see me in this role, to see that you can do both. It's possible. I'm the representation of showing that if you dream big, anything is possible. No, I would have never thought, as a 5-year-old young girl looking up to my brothers, that I would be coaching men in the NBA, and then to be the first African American female head coach at Notre Dame. And so I know that my presence, this opportunity, is impactful for a lot of people, and I'm very grateful to be that person, and I understand the magnitude of it, I guess you can say, and I'm hoping that my story can impact more lives. I'm hoping my story can inspire more lives, and I'm just my messaging is just always to believe, have faith over fear, and to dream big. You never know. If you put the work in, you have purpose, you surround yourself with great people, anything is possible. And I'm living proof of that.
One last question. People told me that you are the next it coach. That's why I tracked you down for Tracks to Success, quite frankly. A coach who will not just lead a program, but a CEO. I'm going back to that term. A CEO who can take a brand to new heights. I'm guessing you understand brand as a concept, women's basketball at Notre Dame, the brand that is, but your personal and professional brand, which you basically just talked about, and the importance of it. How much does that sit on your mind? And when you are done, many years from now, what do you want people to say about Coach Niele Ivey?
Wow. Well, I'm humbled. That's an honor to listen to that, because I think that everything that I've done is just because I love it. I love the game. I love people. I love challenge myself to be better. I have great motivation with my family and my son. So, my work ethic kind of drives, and my passion drives me into what I've had opportunities to do. And the game of basketball has opened so many doors and has changed my life. And this brand has kind of evolved over time, and I don't think I really realized the brand happening. I think I'm always in the moment. I'm never too high or too low. I'm always trying to stay present. And so I've realized, the brand, and now in a huge brand as in Notre Dame, that my brand has, pretty much evolved as I've become more successful and as I've had more experience. And so I'm grateful for that. And I understand it, and I want to continue to grow my brand, and to hopefully my brand can always be a brand of positivity, a brand of inspiration, motivation. I want to always continue showing family and drive and work ethic, and that's what I'm going to strive to continue to share as I'm growing in this role and being the head coach. And I'm praying that down the line, and then my messaging and of who I am or my message down the road would be someone that lived by faith and lived the right way, and somebody that has tried to impact lives in a positive way, and and hopefully transforming lives, like my life has been transformed by good people. And I'm just hoping that loving, serving, and mentoring throughout this whole process as being a head coach is something that people remember me by, or my time here at coaching in general, with the impact. I'm praying that I can continue to make a difference, and I'm realizing what that means now. And I'm just hoping that down the road that I continue to make a difference in a positive way in my community, in college athletics, and wherever my journey takes me.
I'll tell you what, you've been given a great opportunity, and I feel like I just have as well. I can't thank you enough for the time. I wish you the best of success, and thanks for being a part of this with me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
In my conversation with Coach Ivey, she talked about the importance of preparation and the importance of taking the role of role model seriously, which brings me to my one last thing. If you want to be an influencer, take on the role of mentor. Find a way to give other people opportunity to shine while you sit on the sideline and coach, with a purpose of making someone else better and putting them in line for the big shot they might not otherwise get. I always remember a moment in my career in leadership where someone on our executive team said to me, quote, "You delegate quite a bit." I told her she was right, and I think that's what leaders need to do. I knew what my purpose was and what I was hired to do, and in my mind, the best thing I could do was give others the chance to shine in things that I wasn't necessarily expected to do. It created buy-in, engagement, and enthusiasm to make a real contribution. Is there someone on your team you can influence and give something that might push them to be better in their own career? I'd say find that person. Make a difference by giving them the chance to make one themselves. Do that, your tracks to success will come a whole lot easier. I hope you'll share this podcast with somebody you think will enjoy the interview. And please take a moment to give Tracks to Success a review and a rating. It helps. Until next time, I'm Kraig Kann. Thanks so much for listening.
You've been listening to Tracks to Success, brought to you by Presentation Partners, visual storytellers passionate about connecting presenters with their audience. Don't forget to subscribe to the show for more great interviews and thoughts on reaching your highest personal and professional summit. You can follow Kraig on Twitter and Instagram using the handle @Kraig Kann. And for exclusive Tracks to Success content and news about our upcoming guests, you can find Tracks to Success on Twitter. It's @Tracks to Success.